Sebring International Raceway. Every seam in the concrete tells a story. Every bump is a piece of history. This is one of the most unique road racing tracks that there is, and drenched in sports car history. Spec-5 World Tour brings round 8 to Sebring. It is a gorgeous Florida day for 45 minutes of Mazda MX-5 racing in this season and this championship that has been so thrilling so far. We come from last week, our rare oval race at Richmond, to somewhere where the average speeds are just as high. We're live on HJBC. This is David Haynes with Reese Gardner and Michael Derby as we look forward to the green light on qualifying in just a moment's time.
Absolutely. Really happy to be coming to Sebring once again. It's a super challenging track, plenty of history around this place. The bumps and seams in this concrete are going to claim a few victims today, I'm sure, but the challenge is going to be lasting that distance with our 45 minutes ahead of us. The oval round at Richmond last week was certainly a difficult one for many of our drivers, but here's hoping that now that we're back to a more conventional road course, we'll be seeing a bit more what we expect in terms of the results today.
Yeah, this is the classic stuff for MX-5 racing. 17 turns around Sebring, but also some pretty high average speeds. You come out of Sunset Bend, the final corner, and carry a lot of speed on the front stretch into a fast turn 1. Big run from turn 5 through the sweeping turn 6 and down to the biggest braking zone of the lap at turn 7. Then also the back straight, the Ullman straight. Difficult to get the final corner correct onto there, but then the high average speed leads to slipstreaming and pack racing in these MX-5s. To sort the grid order for tonight's race, qualifying begins. It's 15 minutes or 4 laps, and your championship leader is wasting no time getting out there. It's Brandon Hawken with that unique pit exit around the outside of turn 1. Oodles and oodles of pavement until you turn off the old runway and onto the more purpose-built section of racetrack.
Yes, which was constructed from the access roads and effective streets of Hendricks Field, the US Army Air Base that was active during the Second World War. The B-17 Flying Fortress apparently was stationed here during the Second World War. So quite a bit of history to this place before racing came around. We have plenty of nods to this track's history. We're coming through Fangio at the moment. Juan Manuel Fangio raced here in Formula One when it came to Sebring a couple of times in the late 50s. And this is Collier Curve that the championship leader is coming up to now, and Cunningham Corner, two names very much associated with those early days at Sebring. Sam Collier in particular, one of the guys who was helping to organise the first races at this circuit on a layout that was very different from the one we see today.
Many changes. This one a fair bit shorter than some of the original circuit layouts as well, but still a big and daunting track for these little but fearsome cars. Brandon Hawken now about halfway around, and I'm seeing the sun absolutely beating down on this racetrack. One of the hotter track temps I can remember seeing in Spec-5 World Tour for a while.
Yes, 39 degrees Celsius. That's around about 100 Fahrenheit, maybe a little over. So, yeah, that's certainly going to result in the tyres being burnt up over the course of a couple of hot laps. So we may see a bit of a different strat to qualifying here. On cooler track temperatures, you often see the drivers committing to the full 4-lap run at once, but maybe they'll be trying a single hot lap and then jumping back into the pits, getting a fresh set of tyres and trying again. The tyres will probably build up a bit too much temperature with these track temps to do that. We're on board with Brandon Hawken coming into turn 1. As you mentioned, David, super fast entry into this corner, but it narrows up, tightens up on the exit. Barely any room for error as you come into the twisties.
He's car number 98, but if you read the shadow, it's 86. But that sun breaking through the blue sections of the sky in between the few scattered clouds that we see. an absolutely typical Florida morning that it is. Hawkins, one of the first drivers to start a flying lap. He went very wide through Sunset Bend to really open up the run onto the straight to this. Flat out through turn 6. Turn 7's the biggest braking zone down here, and he's looking for past the first cones and maybe 4 cones. Brake, pitch into the hairpin. These 2 curbs on the exit don't have corner numbers, which is very un-American road course corner numbering. But through here we do. Heading towards Cunningham and Collier, like you said.
Yes, I'm surprised they don't have an A or B next to their name. Those corners out of the hairpin, very tight right-hander there at Cunningham, and it's one of the better overtaking opportunities around the lap, as you mentioned. The best one is obviously the hairpin. There'll be some passes here into Tower Turn as well, named for the control tower of the former U.S. Army airfield, and then we go to the south, back down towards Jean de Bienne and Le Mans. This is a purpose-built section of track that has caught out many a driver over the years. You're in the middle of an ocean of concrete, and your only clues to where the track goes are those curbs and yellow lines. You can round up the exit or the entry to Le Mans there using a bit of the extra apron on the way in, and Brandon Hawken has done just that back onto the Ullman Straight.
Yep. Long flat out stretch here. Often the highest speeds are reached going into Sunset Bend. You almost turn in before you brake, such as how wide and flowing this corner is. Hawken goes with that sort of narrow entry, braking around the middle to get to an apex underneath the bridge, and then all the way out, every inch of pavement on the exit. This is one of the first times we're going to see as the drivers begin their first of 4 flying laps in this qualifying session. A 2:25.3 from Brandon Hawken. Jason Stalker's the next driver to set a time. Joshua Soto slots into second 5 times, and more coming on the board. Got to mind those track limits though for Hawken exiting turn 1 as he tries to fire up another lap.
Yes, it looks like he'll be committing to 2 hot laps to a run at least. Jason Stalker taking pole position for the moment in the open class, but we're still waiting on times for about half our field or thereabouts. We have more times coming in now as Geordie Fikes slots into 6th place on his first time. Joshua Soto slotting himself into second on a 2:25.6. So Brandon Hawken is dealing with a nice advantage at the moment. There's Michael Coates, though, across the line, and he has beaten Soto to second place, gets to within 1.5 tenths of Brandon Hawken's first lap time.
Yeah, very solid first effort. A couple of other drivers still to come through. Some quick drivers like Eugenio Pellicci, Lincoln Fox. We're looking at Pollici's teammate, Donnie Moffat, as he comes through the final corner underneath the WeatherTech bridge at Sunset Bend. Start-finish line, the stripe there next to the tower of the pit building, and Moffat goes into 4th. Pellicci a little late on the program. Hasn't got a time in yet. Here's Lincoln Fox. I've got a couple of pizzas in my freezer, and this is making me want one.
Yes, new livery for Lincoln Fox. I've become very used to seeing him in the livery that he's run for the majority of his time in this series, but let's see if the new paint gives him any extra couple of tenths here. Always a contender for victory is Lincoln Fox, and across the line he'll go for a 2:29.7 for his first lap. Obviously he's trying to build up a bit more temperature over the course of this run, so we'll have to wait a little longer to see what he can do.
Mind those track limits on the exit of turn 1. New banner across the track on the way into turn 3 for marathon coaches. Don't go on their website unless you want to feel very, very poor. $1.5 million US for a bus.
Damn. Okay. Thanks very much for the warning. Brian Jabelski across the line, and he'll make an improvement to move up into P8. Travis Ewart has taken the open class provisional pole for the moment, 5th overall, and he's looking quite good for the moment. We're still waiting on a few more times to come in. Jack Stodola is going to slot himself into 3rd in open as Carl Genski and Michael Tuck come across the line, setting low 227s to round out 12th and 13th. Still got 4 drivers yet to set times: Polici, Martin, Rui Coimbra, and Mark Cheng.
Travis Hewitt had an absolute day out at Richmond Raceway. It was an opportunity for some of the open class drivers who know their way around a short oval to really maximise, and Hewitt bagged a big haul of points with a big run there. Now back onto the road courses, he finds himself sitting in 6th outright. Eugenio Polici goes to 3rd. Now I think Polici's going to run out of time in this session, to do 4 flying laps.
Yes, well, Polici has just started his 2nd lap, and a lap around here about 2.5 minutes. So I think he'll get another 2 laps max, including the one that he's on. So late start to the session around a long circuit. It doesn't always bring you a large advantage. We'll see then what Lincoln Fox can do to improve his time. He currently sits 24th, as the only car left to set a time is Rui Coimbra. It appears he's got off tracks on all of his laps so far, and Lincoln Fox is running very wide through Sunset Bend there. I wondered if he was trying to round up for a fast exit, but it appears that he was wide all the way through the corner, and that time for Lincoln Fox was mild improvement, but still a 229.7. We're still waiting to see what he can really do.
Yeah, bizarre strategy so far. Brian Jabelski to that very early apex, trailing the break around to a later 2nd apex. Currently 9th is Brian Jabelski. Only a couple of personal best sectors on this lap. 3rd completed in qualifying, about to begin the 4th. Maybe he's taking the opportunity to cool those tyres off a little bit. That'll take a lot though, because the track temperature has climbed yet further. The sun beating down on the exposed racetrack.
Yes, very fine conditions at Sebring today. Mildly cloudy, but there's enough sun that it's the main focus of everything. Brandon Hawkins going to be our focus as he comes around to end his 3rd lap here. He'll have 1 lap to go. And it appears I was wrong in my initial prediction. The drivers are committing to a full 4-lap run here, and it's an improvement from Hawkins. 225.1. Pretty fantastic there.
Yeah, Joshua Soto completed 2 laps and then went for a new set of tyres. Mark Kruger 1 lap and then a new set of tyres. Brandon Hawkins might be just starting his final possible lap. Lee Martin through the final corner, one of the bumpiest parts of the racetrack. It's taken the most wear, and they refuse to repave Sebring International Raceway. Those bumps are character, they are history, they are load bearing to this place.
Yes, the big slabs of concrete you're looking at here have been in place since US Army Airfield Hendricks was constructed in the early 1940s. Well, Lincoln Fox still waiting on a clear lap time from him. That looks like a more conventional line into Sunset Bend this time around. So I think this will be the first real big time from Lincoln Fox. He was a bit wide on the exit of the final corner, though, which compromises his run onto the start-finish straight. Let's see what this time ultimately brings him. It's going to be a 226.3, considering his fastest lap time in practice was a 225.4. This lap is going to have to be the one.
Practice was a bit cooler though. It's 11:52 a.m. The sun's been out. Every minute we get closer towards the hotter part of the day. Practice, just an hour ago will have been quite a bit cooler. Those are the temps right now. 104 on the track, 82 in the air. Wind has really dropped away and is a bit stagnant at the moment. We've got 28 drivers, 28 of them have set lap times. Odyssey Adams 7th until he sets this lap time, which was not an improvement, 6/10 away from an improvement. Brandon Hawken is on a hot one for his final lap of qualifying. Kyle Genske has a new livery. It's got even more orange to it. And Hawken, can he go quicker than a 25.1? Signs point to yes as he uses every inch exiting the final corner, carrying that momentum to the start-finish line halfway down the front straight, and he makes it a beautiful, even 225.0000.
Awesome stuff. That is metronomic consistency from Brandon Hawken there. And it's always pleasurable to see a time like that. Michael Coates is going to pull in at the end of his third lap there. He's not seeing any improvements, so he will remain second at best in Pro. Lee Martin still chasing that open class pole. He's got 226.48 on the cards at the moment. Across the line, he will come with 1:13 to go, and it looks like that wasn't an improvement from him. He's about 3/10 off his fastest, so drivers struggling to make improvements largely over the course of their runs. Lincoln Fox is the one we're going to be keeping a very close eye on as the session enters its final minute, and his lines through Sunset Bend have not quite been what we'd expect. A little bit of oversteer on the way in. He had to correct that, and he ends up going deep through the second part of the corner. Qualifying has not gone Lincoln Fox's way, and so he's going to abandon the run there. Eugenio Polici's final time is going to be set here. It's a very tight line out of the final corner. Didn't quite maximize it. Is this going to be enough here to topple Michael Coates from second? In fact, it will be a 225.17. That's impressive.
Yes, it is. Even with that final sector, which was not a personal best and a little odd line through Sunset Bend, Felici's got some pace here for sure, and we won't know what Lincoln Fox has exactly. We never saw a normal run through Sunset Bend from Fox, which was a little bit odd. Checkered flag about to begin waving. It does, and brings qualifying to an end. 28 cars for Spec-5 World Tour at Sebring, 28 qualifying times. The fastest of them, though, Brandon Hawken, 225.000, and that's true even rounding to 4 decimal places, because JRT and ATVO, two sources of timing, both agree that it was a 225 flat, and they round differently, so it must be correct. Eugenio Polici in second place. Good pace from him, but still just about 2/10 short. Those two will begin on the front row together. Row 2 has Michael Coates and Joshua Soto. Donnie Moffat in 5th. Open class pole sitter Travis Hewitt is on a real hot streak here. Richmond now to Sebring. He will begin in 6th. Odyssey Adams in 7th. There's Jason Stalker in 8th. Another open class driver inside our top 10. Lincoln Fox is there, pace hiding underneath the surface there for the driver starting out in 9th place. And Rui Coimbra is in the top 10.
Good stuff from Coimbra. Lee Martin's going to take 3rd in the open class. Brian Jabelski alongside on row number 6. Then it's Jack Stadola and Paul Murgatroyd. Murgatroyd in particular really fighting for the lead of that open class championship. He needs a good result today to keep that going. Kyle Genske and Mark Kruger are your 8th row. Then Michael Tuck and Geordie Fike, 17th and 18th. It's 2 open class cars rounding out the top 20. Tim Collier and Drew Lidkier.
Collier and Lidkier, two drivers not yet classified as pro or open. And you've got a couple of other newcomers on this page as well. Tom Athon has qualified 21st though. Ryan Pandisio in 22nd, Liam Park in 23rd, Mark Cheng in 24th, Rob Conahan 25th, Glenn Blanchard 26th. Another newcomer, Gerard Brady, has qualified 27th ahead of Jake DeGrand in 28th.
And that is your field as they pull away on the pace lap. This is quite a long pace lap indeed at Sebring. And of course, Spec-5 World Tour loves to go for those full formation laps. Gives us more than enough time to check out how the drivers stand coming into this round for the points.
Yes, the championship leader is Brandon Hawken, Joshua Soto in second place, Michael Coates there in third, Eugenio Polici and Donnie Moffat, the teammates, are tied. Mike Oswalt's in sixth, Carl Genski in seventh, Geordie Fike in eighth. I made this graphic and remember seeing that I'd done that and still caught myself out. You can put anything on the teleprompter and I'll read it. Michael Chase, 9th, and Mitchell Peake, 10th.
There is a championship battle going on in the open class as well. It's Travis Hewitt in the lead right now with Jack Stadola and Paul Murgatroyd rounding out your top three. Mark Kruger on 301 points. It's very close between Michael Tuck and Jason Stalker, only 5 points separating them. Lee Martin another 2 points behind that, with Mark Cheng, Ryan Pandicio and Paulo Coimbra rounding out the open class top 10. Mr. Clean, meanwhile, David.
It's all about the fewest incidents in Mr. Clean, and right now, that is Michael Tuck. Brandon Hawken next, and then Mike Oswalt, Brian Jabalski and Michael Coates. Geordie Fike, Jack Stadola, Joshua Soto, Mark Kruger and Eugenio Polici. You notice who's not on that? Lee Martin.
Yes, and that would be a consequence of the oval round. At Richmond, we had quite a few big crashes and cautions coming out at the oval round, and there's always a higher potential for gathering up incident points at an oval, so it's resulted in a huge swing for pretty much everybody in those Mr. Clean standings. So once again, the oval round proving to be one of the most crucial of the season.
So on the formation lap now, the 45 minutes begins when the green flag waves on the front straight. Everyone starting with the same amount of fuel is going to need a pit stop. Usually the window to make that pit stop is somewhere in the middle 15 minutes of the race, depending upon the fuel consumption of the particular track, the fuel consumption of the particular drivers, and maybe how much saving they're willing to do and how much risk they're willing to make. There's another banner for marathon coaches, and I reckon quite a few of them end up parked around here at Sebring, Daytona and many of those other tracks.
Yes, indeed. Plenty of high-profile events taking place at this racetrack, not least the 12 hours of Sebring every year. I think we're not too far away from the next running of the Sebring 12 hours in the real world, so it'll be very interesting to see who comes away with top honours there. The 12 hours has been a fixture from the very start of this track's history in the early 1950s. The whole reason this place was set up as a racetrack in the first place was to provide a Le Mans-style racetrack in the United States, and I think it's really kept that. In fact, the 12 hours of Sebring is this weekend, so very good run for this event. Let's see who comes away with the best start here as the green flag flies.
Pace cars in, green flag comes early on the start-finish straight at Sebring, and they race down towards turn one. In between the concrete barriers we start, it opens up on the way in towards turn one, then narrows at the apex and on the exit. Brandon Hawken dives in, trying to maintain that lead. 3 lanes in effect through the middle of the field, but this is where things get narrower. Going through the kink at turn 2, braking zone at turn 3. Tyres are still cold a lot of places in the field. There's Lincoln Fox looking down the inside of turn 3, making up a spot. Odyssey Adams makes up a spot. And Michael Coates from the other lane of the racetrack has swept up Eugenio Polici, come through in a second place. Now we get the slipstreaming again, heading towards the braking zone at turn 7, the hairpin.
Kyle Genski up 4 places. Ryan Pendicio going to make a move on Geordie Fike further back to make it 5 spots up. And here comes Kyle Genski trying to make his way past Rui Coimbra. The move is done there into the hairpin. Too wide for many of the drivers in the midfield, but all up, a really clean start. The only driver that's lost out massively in this one is Michael Tuck. 5 spots down with Tim Collier and Tom Athon also losing spots. Genski and Coimbra still fighting into Cunningham, but Genski is going to complete the maneuver there.
He does, 15th to 10th, and we're only halfway around the opening lap. Brandon Hawkins still leading this one. Travis Hewitt leading open class. Jason Stalker remaining 1 car behind him with Lincoln Fox in between. And then Lee Martin looks to be running 3rd in class. Again, just bouncing over the curbs, but you can get done for cutting the track here if you're not careful and you take too much of the curb. Through this sequence in particular, you don't want to touch the grass exiting Le Mans corner because you can spin the car or really compromise your run onto the Ullman straight. Speeds cross past 100 miles an hour to 110, 120, and that's when the slipstream becomes super powerful in these cars and puts Michael Coates in a really strong position, lassoing Brandon Hawken, the race leader.
But not going for the move at Sunset Bend. I think that's a smart decision there from Michael Coates, because there's so many long flat-out runs at this circuit that fuel saving might be a factor. The drivers will have to come in for a pit stop over the course of this race, and they'll be taking at least 2 tyres over the course of that stop as well. Such a varied circuit in terms of lefts versus rights, although it is an anti-clockwise circuit, which you'd think would be left side tyres. Maybe drivers will take right side tyres, as that's wide there for Odyssey Adams, and Travis Hewitt takes advantage to move up into 6th.
Starting to create some little gaps between our top 5, Brandon Hawken through to Donnie Moffat, and then Odyssey Adams losing some time there. Travis Hewitt going up into 6th place. Lincoln Fox remains close behind. Stalker, Genski just behind him. Then the next group's got Rui Coimbra, Lee Martin, Brian Jabelski and Paul Murgatroyd. And then another little gap to a group led by Mark Kruger and Jack Stadola just behind him. Rob Conahan here with Lidkia, Cheng, Tuck and Collier behind. And all of our cars are still running. Jake DeGrand's made 1 or 2 spots. There he is with a good exit just behind Glenn Blanchard. And he's also passed Liam Park and Gerard Brady.
Gerard Brady has fallen off the rest of the field. The only car that has more than a second to the next car around him. But he's driving consistently. He will make sure to keep that going as long as possible. Could certainly gain advantage if there's a coming together ahead, and with how close the battling is generally throughout the entire field, I'd say there's a fair chance of that happening. Coming up on 40 minutes to go, and our lead pack is compressing. Brandon Hawken, Michael Coates, Eugenio Polici, Joshua Soto and Donnie Moffat. And then Travis Hewitt holding the open class lead just behind them under pressure from Adams, Fox, Stalker and Genski.
Back to the slipstream is already giving Michael Coates sort of 2-3 miles an hour more. It closes into Brandon Hawkins' bumper very quickly, where he then offers just a little bit of some bumping assistance. But it is a really powerful slipstream once they get up to those peak speeds on the Ullman Straight. Everyone riding the bumps through Sunset Bend. They always want to shove you off your line. Super unpredictable, never the same. And this is Moffat perhaps losing out to Hewitt, who has to go around the outside in towards turn 1, but I think he will. Hewitt to 5th place. Eugenio Polici with a new fastest lap of the race in 3rd position with that double toe in front of him, really showing the effect of the gaps closing up at speed.
Yeah, the pace up the front is better than it was in qualifying. 2:24.9s for Brandon Hawken and Michael Coates, and that's a big improvement. Not big improvements, but still an improvement on the times they set in qualifying. We're going to get a replay here of Ryan Pendicio making a move at turn 1, and it's gone wrong for him. Big slide, overcorrecting and hard into the tyre barriers at turn 1. There's a lot of space on the outside there to gather it up, but if you're sliding across the concrete, you're basically a passenger.
Yeah, big slide twice on the way in, corrected it, snapped the other way, and he has significant damage. Looking at the championship leader, who is the race leader, and he sits in this position quite often in these races, doesn't he? Leading sort of about half of the race, the early stint.
Yes, but with how close the rest of the top 4 seem to be, it's going to be quite the battle that he has ahead of him. And it looks like the it is the top 4 now, because it looks like Lincoln Fox has fallen back. And is that damage on the front of his car?
Possibly, but also the car already had teeth and a mustache. So, yeah, maybe.
He has lost a few positions. He was running in the top 5 beforehand.
You're going to say he's lost a few teeth.
Well, that's probably true as well. I'm sure we'll find out momentarily what happened to him, but for the moment, he has got pressure from behind, Kyle Genske and Jason Stalker. Odyssey Adams taking advantage of that, moving back up into P7 and latching onto the back of Hewitt and Moffat as a move up the inside there from Jason Stalker. That's going to be past Kyle Genske and past Lincoln Fox as well, as they're briefly 3 wide on the exit of the final corner. Tight fighting, but for the moment, they'll sort themselves out down the start-finish straight.
Stalker's teammate Rob Conahan with a problem at Sunset Bend. Bit of contact with Cheng and someone else. Yeah. So, was it Geordie Fike? Down the inside for Conahan. Washed a little bit wide. Some contact with Fike, who then made contact with Mark Cheng. And this is another one of those occasions of if your car snaps the other way, you'll find that actually the walls are a lot closer than you thought.
Yes, it was also a case of Geordie Fike committing to the turn-in for Sunset Bend's second apex, while Rob Conahan was still effectively going straight. It was a very deep manoeuvre for Rob Conahan, and the front tyres got a bit overwhelmed. I see Drew Lidkier dropping positions as well, so there's been a problem for car 07. Whether or not there's damage for him, looks like actually internet issues for Drew Lidkier. He's disappeared off the circuit, so that's a real shame for the Canadian. He won't be getting a result that he's happy with here today.
I'm very impressed with this latest iRacing art update for Sebring. They've added the banners across the track. They've updated all of the surface textures and optimized them far better for their VRAM usage. But the new thing that's blowing me away, there's new cars in the spectator area. No longer has every spectator driven to the track in either a 94, Accord or Mustang. There's like a Lexus SC430 out there. That's very Florida. That's the most Florida car that's ever existed, a convertible Lexus.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll have to take a bit of a closer look around the circuit to see what kind of trackside objects have been updated, but we still have the long string of RVs behind the camera here on the way down the Ullman Straight. As we find our way into the final corner, you see the spectator bridge across the track on the Ullman Straight, which was added as part of the World Endurance Championship, 1,000 miles of Sebring. Their pit lane actually on the Ullman Straight. And it was a big weekend for WEC and the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, those events running concurrently. It's a massive circuit for spectators, for racing as well, into turn 1 as Eugenio Pollicci and Joshua Soto are side by side for third. That battle's going to keep going into turns 2 and 3.
Feels like I'd want to be where Pollicci is. Joshua Soto was trying to make that play on third place, and as they've done it, they've sort of dropped about 5 car lengths behind Hawken and Coates, where Coates had been very happy to just push Brandon Hawken along, and Hawken had been very happy to be quick through the corners and be pushed down the straights. So this battle for third just needs to be a little bit careful, because if they keep that up for too long, they'll find themselves closer to that train for 5th than they will to this battle for the lead.
Yeah, they are starting to lose out a bit. Brandon Hawken and Michael Coates now ahead by about 8-9 tenths of a second. And it's going to be some hard work for Pollicci and Soto to catch that one back up. Maybe a good run through these twisties will sort that out for them. Lincoln Fox and Jason Stalker have been continuing their fight, and they'll be side by side into Cunningham. But Lincoln Fox, with that, I would presume damage on the front of his car, either that or making a few mistakes. He was a bit off in qualifying, wasn't he? With constantly running deep into Sunset Bend. Not the Lincoln Fox that I'm used to seeing, and he's really struggling to maintain a top 10 position right now.
Yep, certainly drops behind Jason Stalker, who's second in open class, as Travis Hewitt leads open class and leads this group. Needs to be a bit careful because, like you said, some quick drivers behind him. Donnie Moffat, Lincoln Fox could maybe find the switch to fix all of this. Just puts a little bit of a rub on Jason Stalker's rear bumper exiting Le Mans, to be honest with you. So those two super close heading down the Ullman Straight here. Moffat looks to the inside of Sunset Bend and looks for 5th place. And a big dive. That's ridiculous from Jason Stalker. How did that work? Was everyone
I have no idea.
Bigger than I thought? What the? He leads open class now.
That's crazy. He made up like 3 positions into the final corner. What a pass from Jason Stalker. We'll be seeing a lot of potential from him over the rest of this race. He's going to make up another spot, get into 6th. This is on board for the maneuver. They get on the brakes a bit early, and that's very wide there as Stalker ran up the inside. Yeah.
Hewitt's on the outside of Donnie Moffat, and once he's alongside Moffat, Hewitt creates a bit of a check-up in the outside lane, and Stalker just straight dives down it, parks the car a little bit at the apex underneath the bridge, grabs 6th place and the lead of open class. Now there is like a triple bump train going on here with Hewitt and Genski heading down towards turn 7. Got to be careful here as Donnie Moffat becomes the leader of this group. See if he can unleash some pace as well.
Really intense racing here in the back half of the top 10. 5th place for the moment for Donnie Moffat, back up to where he started. But Stalker, it would appear, is on a mighty charge. And though it seems like the gap to the lead is a bit too large to overcome at this point, we do still have the pit cycle coming. So whether or not Jason Stalker will be able to pull something out on strategy remains to be seen. For now, he'll be battling with Moffat for that 5th spot.
Jason Stalker just having a little bit of a look at Donnie Moffat there as he'd been pushing him along earlier. Approaching Le Mans corner. When you use all of that extra concrete to open up the corner, you do leave yourself vulnerable to a dive bomb. So the fastest line and the line that you use in close combat become quite different there. We get another triple bump going on here. Moffat, Stalker and Hewitt. Genski gets a good run from the triple slipstream. Hewitt's very cautious into Sunset Bend compared to Jason Stalker. Moffat a little wide on the exit. Stalker cuts back and they'll be side by side for 5th.
That they will. There has also been ahead of them a change for 2nd place. Joshua Soto and Eugenio Pollicci have caught back up to Hawken and Coates, and Soto has moved into P2 as this fight will bring itself to a head through turn 1. That's wide for Jason Stalker, and Travis Hewitt and Kyle Genski will take advantage of that. What about Adams and Fox? Will they have anything to say about this? Bit compressed coming into turn 3. Donnie Moffat has the clear track ahead of him and the luxury of choosing whatever line he likes, but Jason Stalker has now lost a couple of those positions that he gained through Sunset Bend. That's a big wiggle on the way out of turn 5, and through Big Bend he's going to catch the grass on the outside. Back into 11th place for car 219. Lee Martin and Brian Jabelski see a free position beckoning.
Positions come and positions go. Stalker had made many spots, loses some spots. This is what was happening in the top 4. So Michael Coates passively sitting behind Brandon Hawken. Joshua Soto had made his move on Eugenio Polici. Now it gets a tighter run exiting Sunset Bend, as Coates, I think, just pushed a little wide. I think Coates just got a little bit of understeer. And then Joshua Soto slips through into second place. Our top 4 approaching the pit window are covered by just 1.3 seconds, and they are pacing away from 5th place with all the battles that we had seen between Moffat, Stalker, Hewitt, etc.
Looks like Moffat, Hewitt and Genski are starting to move away now, as Lincoln Fox has taken advantage of all of the jostling about in the back half of the top 10. He's moved back into 8th spot. Let's see if he can hold on to that. He's probably on the verge of falling out of slipstream range down the Ullman Straight, but that looked like a nice entry into Le Mans, and he's nailed the exit substantially. So let's see what he can do coming down the back stretch of this circuit. As you said, David, we are indeed approaching the pit window, so I wonder who the first to blink will be. I think with how strong the slipstream is here, how crucial it is to lap time, you don't want to pit too early. You risk falling by the wayside, but it looks like Donnie Moffat is going to take that early chance. We'll see how that works out for him.
Jason Stalker also did his patented move down the inside of Sunset Bend to try to get 1 spot back on Lee Martin. Donnie Moffat, 7 laps complete in this race, still thinking 12 to go, rolling down pit lane in search of his crew. He's joined by Geordie Fike in the lane. If you thought you had a bit of damage, you'd go for this strategy, and that's left sides happening for Moffat. Takes a second from the car coming to a stop for the crew to get around to the far side. They've got to jump over the wall and get to the other side of the car. Fike, don't know what's going on for him, but Cheng's definitely getting left sides. Here comes Donnie Moffat back onto track.
Yes, pit stop complete in 18.1 seconds for Moffat. Geordie Fike, 18.9 seconds. And Cheng looks like is spending a little bit more time in pit lane, about 23 seconds stopped in the box for the Open Class 907. But Moffat is back out in 22nd place, and looks like he's a bit far away from getting any slipstream from anyone. So in the short term, he may lose out, but an early pit stop can often result in some moves up the field later on. We'll check back in with our top 4 for the moment, and Joshua Soto, since making that move on Michael Coates, has stayed there. Eugenio Polici, I think, just biding his time at the back of this pack and keeping himself in the running for a potential podium.
Hawken with the bonus points for the pole position. At the moment, bonus points for leading laps, but Eugenio Polici has the fastest lap of the race in his pocket at a 2:24.7. They've dropped away from that kind of pace pretty significantly. Leaders in the 2:26s. This pack is sort of in the high 26s, low 27s. There's Lincoln Fox applying the bumper to Kyle Genski. They'll both mow down Travis Hewitt with that kind of a pace difference. Genski plays Newton's Cradle as Fox lifts, gets bumped by Coimbra, a little unsettled on the way going into Sunset Bend. Poor communication between those two about what they were doing. Poor line from Coimbra.
Oh, that was very deep indeed out of Sunset Bend. He was scrubbing the fronts, and now he's lost all of that momentum down the start-finish straight. He'll try to be defensive here versus Jason Stalker, but Jason already ahead on the way into turn 1, and I think there's quite a bit of damage now for Rui Coimbra. He'll have Odyssey Adams, his teammate at Not a Team, jumping past him now into turn 3. Yeah, it looks like that number 78 is compromised. It was quite the hit.
Wide out of Sunset Bend, big glancing blow on the wall, dropping many spots now. Into pit lane comes Mark Kruger, left side tyres going on for him. Tom Athon is the car behind. We did see Mark Cheng go for 4 tyres, and I suspect Rob Conahan might have gone for 4 tyres as well. If you take a thermometer check, it is blisteringly hot out there. If there are any conditions that taking 4 tyres would give you an advantage, it's either this or 4 wet tyres when it starts raining.
Yeah, indeed. Track temperature has gone up to 48 degrees Celsius. That's 118 Fahrenheit. That's pretty ridiculous.
No walking your dog, Reese.
No, absolutely not. Or at the very least, put some socks on them to help them out there. I reckon you crack an egg on that concrete and leave it for about 10-20 minutes. It'll start cooking through. Next pit stop has been complete for Jake de Grand, 17.6 seconds. That is the quickest stop we've seen so far from the man who races with hand controls. Let's see what advantage that brings him.
Yes. Good stop. He rejoins just a little bit behind Rob Conahan, but rejoins ahead of Drew Lidkia, who is back in the race, but has made 2 stops that will, I think, get him to the end. Not ideal circumstances, but Drew Lidkia is back into it for the long haul. Here come our leaders, quickly approaching the halfway point of this race. Hawkins, Soto, Coates, Polici all stay out. If I was any of them, I would just do what Hawkins does.
Yeah, I do the same. And, we often find in this championship that the leaders will stay out as long as they possibly can. Drivers in the midfield tend to be pitting a bit earlier, and we're seeing that from Rui Coimbra and Brian Jabelski right now. Still got Michael Tuck, Tim Collier, Glenn Blanchard, and Liam Park, as well as Gerard Brady yet to come into the pits behind them. Collier is going to jump in, and let's see how quick the pit stop is for Coimbra here. He obviously has damage to repair.
Yeah, a costly mistake it was. Work ongoing for Tim Collier as well. So left sides only for Coimbra and Jabelski. They're out there. Here goes Johnny Moffat at speed, so they're going to end up just a bit behind him. Always got to be careful on this pit exit if there's a bit of traffic about.
Yeah, it's a wide corner, but, we saw it, I mentioned it in qualifying, how it narrows up so much on the exit. Someone's side by side with you on the way out, and they're attacking the corner with everything they can, and they will likely wash wide into you. So that's something worth thinking about. Keep an eye on your F3 black box as Joshua Soto goes a bit deep out of tower turn. Keeps the pace up behind Brandon Hawken, though. Eugenio Polici maintaining the fastest lap of the race and was the quickest car on the circuit last time by with a 2:26.0. The lap times have really gotten slower here in these hotter track temperatures. They're struggling to hold on to the pace, and I can't imagine how much understeer they're getting through these fast corners.
Yeah, so this 4 yet to stop, and this 4 yet to stop. We've seen a few drivers from this pack pit early, like Moffat, Coimbra, Jabelski. Lincoln Fox is moving up a bit here, trying to keep this pack going, because if they battle with each other now, they get undercut by those drivers that have already pitted. But if they work together now, they can overcut some of those other cars. Lincoln Fox looks to the inside on Travis Hewitt. Good place to be if you're intent on pitting, by the way, is make sure you're not caught around the outside of Sunset Bend, because that can be very difficult to pit if you're around the outside. These drivers are all coming in, except for Jason Stalker, who gets caught a little bit halfway no man's land there. Fox, Hewitt, Genski come in. And Odyssey Adams and Lee Martin also stay out. Stodola, late call to come in the back of shot following Paul Murgatroyd.
Got to be careful with a late call into pit lane at this circuit. Those cones that you see on the way into pit lane, you can't hit those. You can't cross over the yellow line that splits the pit lane from the racetrack. Otherwise, you will get a black flag for an unsafe pit entry. So 5 cars in pit lane at the moment. And it's looking like left side tyres for pretty much all of them. Lincoln Fox with 16.7 seconds in the box, and that's a new quickest pit stop of the race. You can always rely on Lincoln Fox to be the quickest through the lane. But will he have the fuel to get to the end from here? 20 minutes remain. Hewitt, Jabelski, Genski. Yeah, 4 tyres there for Travis Hewitt.
2. Genski too. So look for them to be incredibly quick in left-hand turns. They're going to be keeping up with Lincoln Fox through right-handers like turn 7 and Sunset Bend, but left-handers like turn 1 and the other ones, turn 5 maybe here. That's where you're going to see a difference.
Yes, turn 1 and all of the other left-handers around this circuit, and that's a point that I was going to make actually. With the variety of corners around Sebring and the nature of its layout, yes, it is a clockwise circuit, so you would imagine that there's more right-handers than lefts, and so left side tires are the way to go. But turn 1 is one of the highest load, fastest corners on the track, and it is a left-hander, so fresh right side tires will really benefit you through there. The top 3 though, still waiting on pit stops for them, and everyone down to Michael Tuck in P8. Gerard Brady still hasn't come into the pits either, just outside the top 20. But is there going to be any move to pit lane from our top 4 at the moment? They'll be looking at Brandon Hawken to see what he does, and it looks like Hawken's going to be going for pit lane. Polici, half thought about it, but he's going to commit to getting in there with them. And that is going to be pit stops for our top 4 there. Let's see if Stalker and Adams join them.
Yeah, and to note that Lincoln Fox running long has ended up ahead of Johnny Moffat, who was leading the 5th place pack when he opted to pit a little bit earlier. So I think that's advantage Fox in that case. Odyssey Adams will go for one longer. Left side tyres for everybody in pit lane right now. The first that's done is Hawken. Now just waiting on the fuel, where having led the whole way, he's had to take a little bit. They've all taken a fair bit more fuel in this leading 4 than some of the mid-pack drivers have.
Yes, they probably have a
certainly more than Lincoln Fox has, and that's one to watch. Well, there's a spin in the final corner. Travis Hewitt's made contact with someone.
Well, that's not ideal. He's going to fall behind Genski and Shabelski. So what exactly happened to Travis Hewitt here?
100.
Yeah, that's Glenn Blanchard, who obviously was sent straight to pits.
Blanchard was already heading for pit lane, but hadn't covered off the inside, while cars that had pitted were barreling up towards him and have tried to pass in right-hand side in Sunset Bend. And Blanchard still turned across for pit entry because he needed pit entry, but hadn't blocked the other cars from taking that opportunity, and they were clearly unaware that he was pitting.
Another thing you have to look out for at Sebring is trying to navigate the final corner when battling with a car who might be coming into pit lane. Well, Odyssey Adams, the only car left to come into the pits now as Rob Conahan brings it in for the 2nd time. The track temperature being as high as it is, you'd think pitting earlier would be better for gaining spots. The undercut is typically much stronger when the track is hot, but Adams committing to a bit of a longer run here. He'll spend a bit more time with a lighter fuel load in his car in the middle stages of the race, but I think he might end up losing out here with everyone on fresher tyres behind starting to make gains.
So Brandon Hawken still leads, Michael Coates right with him, but the longer stops for Soto and Polici might have driven a wedge between 1st and 2nd place. And then you've got Kyle Genski just ahead of the 2 men that took 4 tyres. Lincoln Fox gets a slowdown penalty. He's cut the corner here on the way into Le Mans. Now down the Ullman Straight, he's going to have to give up a chunk of time. It's going to let Moffat get closer. It's going to let Stalker get a little bit closer. How does Lincoln Fox manage this?
That is the question. You see him committing to the entry of Sunset Bend.
Lost about a second.
Yeah, okay, so slowdown cleared, but it hasn't cost him any places for the moment anyway. Adams is in the pit lane.
Sunset. Yeah, it will cost him yet further, and the last driver to pit is Odyssey Adams.
And that was a reasonable stop from Adams, 18.2 seconds, but Fox and Moffat are going to get past him, so will Stalker, but he's going to be pretty much level with Rui Coimbra on the way through the first corner there. Adams gets up to speed and Coimbra is past. So Adams ultimately 2 positions down from where he started now that the pit cycle is complete, and everyone is now good to the end, I would imagine, with 14.5 minutes still on the clock.
Got to worry about some of the quicker pit stops, like 6.7 for Lincoln Fox, 17.6 for Jake DeGrand. Most other pit stops are in the 18 to 19 second range or longer if they took 4 tyres. The highest running car that we can see have taken 4 tyres is Genski and Hewitt, 10th and 11th at the moment. It's your top 4 on screen. Joshua Soto's got to pedal like mad right now because he's just out of the drafting window of Michael Coates, who is just within that window of Brandon Hawken. They need to close that gap quickly.
Yeah, it's very easy to lose the slipstream at Sebring, and that might play another part in it there with Soto once again wide out of tower turn. Not the first time we've seen him do that, and Eugenio Polici will gain a little more on him there, but it seems like Polici is actually not making as many gains as I expected, potentially with a couple of problems on the run down to Jean-de-Bienne. That was a lot of curb there for Joshua Soto. Got to wonder if he's on the verge of getting a slowdown there. He's wide on the way into the Ullman Straight as well. So it looks like this hasn't been a good lap for the 135. The gap to the drivers ahead about 1.9 seconds at the moment.
So the next group's forming up. Lincoln Fox did lose a bit of time last lap, about that 1 second. Donnie Moffat is in the slipstream here. I can see the speed traces. Moffat's about 1.5 miles faster as it just inches closer that gap to Lincoln Fox for 5th place. Jason Stalker is leading open class in 7th place. A little bit of fresh air for him here, but he's got Coimbra and Adams potentially closing. And then Travis Hewitt has made a move on Kyle Genski since I last looked. There they come exiting Sunset Bend. Hewitt just ahead of Genski. Brian Jabelski with the 4 new tyres, sandwiching Genski as he's pushing Travis Hewitt along. That second in open class is Hewitt. He'll want to be able to close down Stalker if he can.
Yes, Adams and Coimbra trading spots back again on the way out of turn 1, so they may or may not be losing a little bit of time to them. But these 2 cars at the front of this pack we're looking at on those 4 fresh tyres, and it's about now that I think we'll start to see that advantage. 226.4 from Travis Hewitt, playing a 226.7 from Genski, and Jabelski 226.5. It seems that the decision to take 4 tyres has not granted them as much pace as I expected. The drivers in front still running mid 226s, much like them.
Hoping to be a little bit quicker than Stalker. Here's Michael Coates, who's closed all of the gap to the race leader, Brandon Hawken. Coates was the fastest car on track last lap, as that slipstream just gave him that little bit of boost he needed compared to Brandon Hawken.
There isn't going to be much chance for a move into Jean-de-Bienne, though. It's a fast corner, fast entry. Hawken absolutely swinging out the rear end. Hawken's driving style is very particular, I've found. He's not afraid to kick the rear tires out on the way into the corners and get the rotation on the way in to straighten runs out of the corners. We don't see many other drivers doing that. For the moment, Coates is more than happy to sit behind Brandon Hawken. He doesn't want to make the move too early. My timing's telling me 5 laps to go when they cross the line. So now's about the time that Coates is going to have to start thinking about where he's going to try the move for the lead. But Hawken has spent enough time defending the lead of races in this championship to know what to expect.
Best case scenario for Michael Coates is you keep pushing Brandon Hawken, and then you stay clear of Soto and Polici, as both of them run a little bit wide through turn 1. And then on the final lap, Brandon Hawken runs out of fuel or has to save, and you come through to take that race lead. But your best case scenario is you keep this mano or a mano, or whatever that expression is, until the very final lap. You don't make this a 5 to go, 4 to go, 3 to go type of battle. You make it a last lap scrap with a little bit of space to third place.
Looks like the Not a Team cars have caught up to Jason Stalker, and Stalker is now in the sandwich, but I would imagine Rui Coimbra is going to try and follow Adams through here at the hairpin. A little bit boxed in here as Stalker takes his line into the hairpin super late on the brakes, which has helped him out into Sunset Bend, but doesn't help him out too much on the hairpin. A wide exit, though. He ended up getting on the power nice and early, so he might be able to defend this position.
So Stalker versus the Adams family, and they're costing themselves a little bit of time, because here comes Travis Hewitt, 4 tyres, leader of the open class. Stalker refuses to roll over. He gets good momentum around the outside of these corners. A couple of corners in a row he's done that, defended his position, usually single file going into Tower Turn here, but it becomes a fair and square 5-way fight. Jason Stalker, Odyssey Adams, Rui Coimbra, and then Travis Hewitt and Kyle Genske. They have dropped Brian Jabelski a little bit to my surprise. Now we're side by side for 7th and 8th.
That we are, and those 4 tyre shod cars of Hewitt and Genske, well, 225.7 from Hewitt, as hello, there's been a change for the lead. Michael Coates has taken it from Brandon Hawken, and I'm wondering if that's a tactical maneuver from Brandon to be in the slipstream when the final lap comes around. It's not going to work out for him if that's the case, though, because that's wide out of the final corner for Coates, and Hawken will take the lead back on the outside into turn 1.
Gap from 2nd to 3rd at the moment sits at 2.3 seconds. If it gets to 1.5, they start to be in trouble. Some weird and wonderful lines going on through Sunset Bend as everyone slides around and their tyres have seen their best. The track is as hot as it has ever been, and these cars are moving about. It's hard work. 121 Fahrenheit, if you don't mind. Stalker and Adams side by side to turn 1. Stalker's on the inside line here. He's been good at Sunset Bend diving in from the inside. He just holds Odyssey Adams out a little bit, who wanted to cross over under. And Stalker leaves space on the outside that Adams didn't quite occupy. Now a squeeze at the kink of turn 2 into turn 3. Around the outside and past the palm trees. The illuminated ones right there. Fake in Florida.
Looking at pixels right now. This is super real racing, but fantastic battle that's continuing on here between Stalker and Adams. It seems like Adams has the edge over Stalker in some places, but Jason's going to go deep at the hairpin and park it on the exit. And now the pack is super compressed for 7th place. Hewitt and Genske not able to make any moves just yet, but I think one might be beckoning here if Rui Coimbra doesn't go defensive enough. Racing line on the way into Cunningham, and it looks like Coimbra is going to keep them behind once again.
Well, we're going to have to upcharge all of our viewers because they are getting ringside seats to this boxing match. The group coming together. Jason Stalker doesn't want to give anything up to the pro class cars because he keeps them between himself and championship leader Travis Hewitt. It's a real championship implications kind of brawl going on here for them. But Odyssey Adams is very, very quick. He keeps getting good runs at Jason Stalker, and Stalker keeps just trying to play racecraft and car positioning to keep him behind, including here into Le Mans, where he doesn't really open up the inside. But again, that compromises him on the exit, where Adams is very strong, all the way over to the yellow line for Stalker. I think he's just going to get freight trained. Travis Hewitt applies the bump draft, and you thought you were defending the inside line or breaking the slipstream, but you are letting the open class lead go as Hewitt follows the group and into the leader class.
Good stuff. And the not-a-team cars will make a slight bit of contact on the way into Sunset Bend. That was a big slide there from Adams on the way through. Genski now on the outside of the exit, and Jason Stalker's been shuffled all the way back to 11th. 4 spots lost ultimately in that final sector, but there's still time for him to fight back. 3 laps to go.
Brandon Hawken has taken the lead of the race back, and he was the fastest car on track last lap, a 2:26 flat, meaning he's got just a little bit of performance left in his back pocket, enough to try to fend off Joshua Soto and Eugenio Pollicci, who appear to be bump drafting towards turn 7. Michael Coates back in his happy place of 2nd place, 2 tenths behind the race leader. Donnie Moffat and Lincoln Fox battling for 5th and 6th. And can I offer you a battle for position between everyone in the top 10? Because there's Adams back in 7th place. Travis Hewitt willing to work together with these not-a-team guys, and it has worked out to his advantage here, as they've all shuffled by Jason Stalker.
Yes, but crucially, Hewitt still keeps Kyle Genski behind. There's plenty of opportunity for this battle to take other forms over the course of the last 2 laps or so. But they're only halfway around that 3rd last lap. There's still plenty of opportunities to make mistakes, to make moves. Let's see then how they go through this twisty section of the circuit, which right about here rejoins the original, one of the original layouts of this circuit in reverse. That used to be the run into turn 4, but now it's a right-hander into Tower Turn, which isn't in quite the same location as it used to be.
Mr. Super Serious Track Guides, for $1 million, name another Formula One venue that races on tarmac in reverse to how it used to.
A current venue?
It is a current venue.
Okay. Albert Park.
Yes, I've got to pay that. I was thinking of Interlagos, but Albert Park is also correct, runs in the reverse direction to how it did in the 50s. We're side by side here. The bump drafting on Ullman Straight, ridiculous. Travis Hewitt gets a bump from Genski, pulls out last minute, 3 wide to dive down the inside of Sunset Bend. Travis Hewitt puts himself into 7th place, and he's leading the open class to boot too, with now 3 cars in between himself and Jason Stalker back in 11th place. 2 laps to go for the race leaders and everyone crossing the start-finish line right now, and time is running out for Pollicci and Soto to try to run down Hawken and Coates. They've dropped a second further behind, not helped by moments like that from Eugenio Pollicci. He snaps from the right-hand side of the road back over to the left. Soto through into 3rd place, and Pollicci now 5 seconds away from the race leaders.
I don't see him making that gap up to Soto to try to get back on the podium unless Soto makes a mistake. 7th and 8th, though, Hewitt and Genski, they took them a bit to build up the momentum on the completely fresh set of tyres that they have, but looks like those tyres have been switched on now, and they've been biding their time. Now they find themselves in 7th and 8th, and all things being the same, they should stay there. Donnie Moffat and Lincoln Fox are 5 seconds ahead of them and fighting over that last position in the top 5. Oh, Brandon Hawkins just had a huge slide through Tower Turn. And it looks like that might give the move to Michael Coates on the way into Jean de Bienne. A rare mistake from our championship leader.
They've got Rob Conahan, a lap down car between themselves and 3rd place, but Michael Coates will put his nose into the lead, heading towards the white flag lap. He runs a little bit wide at Le Mans, and usually I'm thinking I want to be in 2nd place coming onto the Ullman Straight on the final lap, so you're beginning to work this one backwards, and as they've pulled away from Soto and Pollicci, they can go a little bit more hand-to-hand in this battle. Michael Coates leads from Brandon Hawken, heading towards Sunset Bend for the penultimate time.
Here comes the slipstream, and Hawken is going to go for it again coming into Sunset Bend. I get the feeling that Coates is going to let him have this one. He'd be more than happy to be in the slipstream down the Ullman Straight on the final lap. Let's see then the white flag fly. Barney over there on the left of the driver's line. And And Brandon Hawken in front by 0.2 of a second. Eugenio Polici was the fastest car on track last lap, but this time it is Hawken, despite that slide, a 2:26.9, which isn't too bad considering this late race pace here as things are starting to get leery here in this battle. It seems like Carl Genske and Travis Hewitt have lost out that 1-2 they had at the front of this battle, and Jason Stalker's starting to make moves back now. Adams finding himself back in 11th.
Stalker just tried to pull his move down the inside of Sunset Bend, got a little bit of positions, but had no momentum on the exit. That's cost him. Up here, Lincoln Fox on the inside of Donnie Moffat into turn 3. Looks to have sealed that one, but we'll still need to worry about it on the run down towards turn 7 and on the Ullman straight. Rui Coimbra into 7th. Travis Hewitt still leading open class. Michael Coates slipstreaming Brandon Hawken for the lead of the race. It's all action everywhere at Sunset Bend, at Sebring, with Sunset Bend still to come, I should say. Brandon Hawken got no gap to Michael Coates, who will be strategizing his brain off right now.
We're approaching the corner where Brandon Hawken lost the rear on the previous lap and lost the lead. There's going to be more lapped traffic ahead of them. Gerard Brady up ahead. Let's see the turn in here. Hawken manages to keep the car on the straight and narrow, and it's Coates' turn to have a little slide on the way out. But I think this might potentially save Hawken a little. Some slipstream from the lapped car ahead. Got to make sure that they don't run into him through Jean de Bienne and Le Mans. And that's going to be Gerard Brady going wide and off the circuit to let our leaders go. Nicely done there. So it is between Hawken and Coates for the race win. And that's a great exit out of Le Mans there for Hawken. And he's going to immediately try and break the slipstream.
To the yellow line, back to the grass on the other side. Michael Coates has just got to follow him, and I don't know if Coates has got a line through Sunset Bend that's going to let him do this. Brandon Hawken's going to go all the way to defend the inside, send Michael Coates all the way around the outside. Do you try to cross back for a better exit? He can't go all the way around the outside. He's going to come towards a later apex here, but Hawken is the master of sliding these cars around and keeping his momentum. It's a quick blast to the checkered flag, and Brandon Hawken will win from Michael Coates. Joshua Soto heading for 3rd. Lincoln Fox and Donnie Moffat are going to battle it out side by side as well through Sunset Bend. Fox has been practicing that line around the outside. Donnie Moffat's right up against the concrete. Has Fox gone too wide and into the marbles? Is there any speed to be had there as he crosses back? I think he's too many car lengths away from Moffat. He'll take that. Coimbra in 7th. Genske just pips Hewitt. They're in a photo finish 3 wide.
That was fun. Battle for 7th place working out in the favour of Genske and Hewitt on the all 4 fresh tyres. And ultimately, Coimbra and Adams will join them. Jason Stalker falling off from this battle on the final lap. And we'll have to settle for 11th place. Hewitt taking the open class win in a fantastic drive with a pretty good strategy call, I have to say.
Oh, looks like Mark Cheng may be running out of fuel. This race did go 1 lap longer than some might have expected. There was about 15 seconds on the clock when they took the white flag. So across a 19-lap race, if they had been about 7/10 of a lap slower, it would have been 1 lap fewer in this race. But there's no hill to coast down at Sebring. Liam Park is going to get him. The question is, does Glenn Blanchard or Drew Lidkier pass Mark Cheng before the checkered flag? And I think that's going to happen. I think Blanchard here is going to get him.
This is going to be tough here. Let's see what happens. Amazing to see that Drew Lidkier, despite his internet issues, still managing to complete the race here as Blanchard does make his way past Cheng through Sunset Bend, and potentially Lidke will do the same thing.
The irony being, Reese, there's a self-service little gas station there on the inside of the final corner, about 80 feet from where Mark Cheng has come to a stop. Contained the most expensive fuel I have ever seen in my life until last week. Everyone has taken the checkered flag. Brandon Hawken is the winner from Michael Coates and Joshua Soto. Eugenio Pollicci in 4th, from Donnie Moffat in 5th, winning his battle with Lincoln Fox, who will probably take up a personal grudge against Sunset Corner. I don't think Fox ever really maximised that. Carl Genski in 7th, Travis Hewitt with a great battle to take the open class win, having to muscle his way through against Rui Coimbra and Odyssey Adams, the top 10. Jason Stalker apparently coming short on fuel, Reese.
Yes, he ends up finishing 11th in the end, with Brian Jabelski finishing where he started in 12th. Lee Martin and Jack Stadola and Mark Kruger. That's 3 open class drivers in a row to round out the top 15. It's Tim Collier who finishes in 16th place ahead of Geordie Fike. Tom Athon and Michael Tuck battled to the line. There was only about half a second between them to 7/10. Paul Murgatroyd rounding out your top 20. And then we move over the page to Liam Park, Glenn Blanchard and Drew Lidke. Honestly amazing to see that Lidke ended up finishing on the lead lap in spite of him dropping out of the server earlier on. I think an attribute of Sebring's length there playing it. Mark Cheng finished in 24th place, running out of fuel on the final lap. And then we had Gerard Brady finishing a lap down, as did Rob Conahan and Jake DeGrand. Ryan Pandicio, the sole retiree from this race, and that was quite the accident he had into turn 1.
Yes, it was. And we saw a lot of other drivers make little mistakes exiting turn 5, and then Sunset Bend is always a massive roll of the dice. It's basically half of a roulette wheel and just as bumpy, that corner. But what a great race we've seen. Yet another Spec-5 World Tour race where making a highlights reel would be longer than the race was in real time. The final 15 minutes had 3 or 4 battles, all of great significance that you could hardly tear your eyes away from. Let's see who'll come to chat with us. It's both of our class winners. Open class winner Travis Hewitt joins us. Heart rate 150, 200 beats per minute in that final 10 minutes, Travis?
Yes, I'm just trying to catch my breath here. Holy moly.
Talk to us quickly then about the 4-tyre decision. The track was absolutely roasting, and while it cost you time in the pit lane, I'm sure it gave you some confidence in that final stint.
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely a gamble there. Took 4 tires. I figured with the absolute scorching temperatures that hopefully would pay off in the end. Luckily, we were able to catch the draft, and I think it paid off in the end. And I didn't have a lopsided car, if you will, with just one side fresh and one side melted. So it worked out.
Absolutely. It did. 2 open class wins in a row. What's the similarity, if any, between Richmond and Sebring?
Absolutely none, but they're a great time. I actually really enjoyed the Oval, to be honest, and was really looking forward to Sebring. I really love this track. It's so much fun with the bumps, and was really looking forward to it. Had a blast. Really enjoyed it.
What were your tactical considerations in the final stint? Looks like Carl Genski was going to bump draft you until he didn't. You had teammates trying to work together to block you out there, and you were also, of course, I'm sure, keeping an eye on what was going on for Jason Stalker.
Yeah, certainly. Shout out to Kyle. Definitely helped out with some pushes there, but I think I knew I had some fresher tires going into the later stints. I was able to push it maybe a little bit harder than some of the other guys. Had a great battle going into their Sunset. That was amazing. I think we were like 3 wide. Definitely got the heart rate skyrocket. So shout out to those guys keeping it clean, and what an epic finish.
Absolutely. We'll catch you next time, Travis. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Well, another driver who had a great battle was the race winner, Brandon Hawken, who's going to join Reese.
Yes, indeed he is. Brandon, welcome to the commentary box. Another win on the cards for you this season, but that was far from an adequate description of the battle you had throughout that race. You were under pressure from Michael Coates pretty much the whole way. Joshua Soto and Eugenio Pollicci giving you a run for your money as well.
Yeah, that was really tough. Michael, he here and in Miami, he just had this thing where he's just able to stay like glued to my bumper, and man, he was really quick, and so yeah, I was I wasn't sure how it was gonna play out there the last few laps, but. Yeah, I started losing the rear end as well there with about 2 to go, and he was gripped up. He did a really good job keeping the rears on it, and he got by, and then I thought I'd just like try to make a pass into the last corner. I wasn't sure I was kind of like questioning myself right after I did. I was like, oh man, I should have just done that on the last lap. But I tried to get a good run there onto the back straightaway on the last lap, and it seemed like it was a lot more difficult than it has been in previous years to kind of get the run out of the last corner, like by taking it wide and then cutting in. So I was just hoping he wouldn't completely clear me going into the final corner, and then could hold the inside and hopefully have a good enough run to get to the line there. But he put up a great fight. That was an amazing race there with Michael, Joshua, and Eugenio as well. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a fun and clean battle from up here in the broadcast booth as well. So we're very happy to see how it turned out there. You're going to maintain and extend your championship lead. Coming into the next round of the championship, we're heading a bit further south to Brazil. Interlagos is going to play host to the next round of the championship, another track where slipstream is going to be crucial.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one. It's got an absolutely massive straightaway down the front, and then you got another one in the middle, and then in between, it's really nice, like flowing racetrack. So it should put some really great racing on, and I think we have a chance of rain there as well. So that should make it even more interesting. So it's gonna be a really great time, and hopefully just continue this momentum here and have a lot of fun at Interlagos.
Yes, hoping for a similar situation to Suzuka earlier on in the season. It'll be an interesting race for sure. Congratulations on getting the dub, Brandon, and we'll surely be catching up with you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Brandon Hawken there, winning the pro class, and that looks like it's going to be everyone done and dusted, David. It's another successful round of Spec-5 World Tour. I am loving Season 19. It's brought us lots of entertaining racing.
Absolutely. Something for everyone. We love to see it. Brandon Hawken winning. Travis Hewitt versus Jason Stalker. The fight for the Open Class Championship continues, and all types of tracks, all types of weather. The battle will go on. You'll see round 9 here on HJBC live in a week's time. We do hope you'll join us then for yet another dose of this Spec-5 World Tour. I've been David Haynes with Reese Gardner, Michael Derby in our production. And boy, was there a lot of action to try to pick out. Thanks so much for joining us. See you next week.